good morning, afternoon, or evening, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. Today is April 22, 2022. Hello to everybody in the chat. Ben chiming in there first with you came for the music. Hope you were not disappointed there, Ben. Welcome. And ScriptDev with a pog. Hello, ScriptDev. Always nice to see you. Jason saying hello to everybody. Keith waving back at you. Math Awakening saying hi, Dave, early there, and hi, Larry the Friendly Knight as well. Well, I'm sure Larry appreciates the shout out. Peter, good morning to you as well. Salim, good morning, Dave. Let's go. Eh? All right. Kim, good morning, Dave. Good morning to you as well. Hello again, Scrib. Math, greetings. Welcome to the kingdom. All right. KDM, JP, hello, Keith. Does Larry have any family members, asks Keith. That's a mighty good question. You know, I don't know if we've explored sort of his ancestry. Perhaps explored a crush of his, but that's as far as we've gotten, maybe. Diamond Knight, hello to you. Jason asks, how's the weather up there? It is wild and wacky, as is the course of any changing of the seasons in Canada. It has been freezing cold and snowy one day and then sunny and warm the next. It's really throwing everybody for a loop, I think. Good morning, Matt. Good morning to you as well. Speaking of weather, I'm a little under the weather today, actually. So I'm just fighting off the tail end of a cold. So this Feedback Friday might be a little bit of an abridged version. Might be a little shorter than usual. We'll see what we get into, though. I won't overdo it with my voice too much, but pop in, say hello, hang out for a little bit, and get a little bit of feedback. So on that note, we'll switch gears here. You may have recalled Jason asking sweater and shorts weather, right? Exactly, yeah. The body's confused. How to dress yourself leaving the house every day is a little bit of a riddle. You gotta make sure to check the weather. You may have recalled from last Feedback Friday that I took part in at least a couple weeks ago that where we made that beautiful illustration of Gouda string cheese. But then afterwards, we touched base a little bit here of some of these notes of something we're looking into, and that is making how you take friends on hunts, switching that to be region-based rather than location-based as it is right now, and even just the tip of the iceberg here. Into something that it kind of maybe leads to a lot more brainstorming and ideation of just how do we make who goes on a hunt with you, maybe make that a more interesting, give you more agency over it, add a more sort of compelling gamified way of that working, making sure you're aware that it's even a thing. A lot of new players, when they start the game, they don't even know this is a thing, right? Because odds are you don't have very many friends at that point. And when you do meet new people, odds are they're probably not in the town of Narnia hunting with you either. So, something we want to try to make better in the game, make it more apparent, make it more of a fun thing that you notice and you have fun with seeing happening. And this is just a first step, because this is probably the easiest change we can make. In fact, Giorgio and Norm got in there and they're like, oh, let's see if we can even make this work. It's like, oh, we changed about 2 lines of code and just everything works just as it would if it was environment-based. So that was a pleasant surprise. Jason and Matt, thank you for the well wishes in the chat there. Hope I get well soon also. I think Wednesday was sort of the peak of it, and been a little bit on the mend. Both nostrils were working this morning, and I thought, well, that's a great start to the day right there. So this led to some further conversation too of just regions in general, just making them more prevalent in the game. If we kind of make this first step anyway of making who goes on hunt with you based on the region, well, we should probably have regions be communicated with a little bit more prevalence throughout the UI. So, it's a great suggestion I think Michelle shared as well. Like, we kind of have to play up regions a little bit more so you can better understand, who's going to go on a hunt. So both Giorgio and Sana have done a little bit of brainstorming here. Again, just as a visual aid, sort of some of the spots we think, hey, maybe we can make regions a little bit more prominent in just, small but impactful ways, hopefully. The travel section here, when we kind of show the region and that accordion menu showing, here's how many friends you have in this region. And just to kind of make you more aware of it. Also help, again, not a complete product, but the first step in sort of helping people discover that this is a thing that happens when you hunt in the same location as somebody right now, and soon to be region. you can go on hunts together. Jason says, I always thought it would be nice to have a setting where you could turn off being taken on a hunt, maybe for cases where you want to be very strategic. It's something on our radar as well. And we just want to kind of take a step back, actually, and better understand what are those moments of strategic hunting, and maybe we can pull it off in a way that feels a little more gamified. One concern we have is it's the type of thing you might turn it off, because you kind of want it off for just a short period, and then you forget to turn it back on. And you're like, oh, and it becomes this like tedious thing that you're always like, oh yeah, I got to turn this on, turn this off. And it's a little bit of a distraction or a little bit of friction that kind of gets in the way of just enjoying things. So we're trying to take a different angle and think about, what are those strategic moments? Things like the trap library and the floating islands is a big benefit there as well, where, if I'm away and something changes and I want to change my setup, or maybe we need to think a little bit bigger of, can I arm just a certain number of pieces of cheese on my trap? So if I want to be strategic, I can arm one piece at a time and just really watch every hunt. Just trying to, brainstorm a little bit more around that rather than have a toggle. Can we make it part of the game rather than a setting to like make the game work differently? How can we sort of more ubiquitously instill it in the very essence of the game and allow you, because it'll be more versatile as well in different situations. You'd be empowered to hunt in the way that you want to hunt the best. Sobra says maybe rather than regions, just areas that have a theme, like the Living Garden, the entire Sandtail region. Yeah, fair enough. Like, certainly a lot of the regions have one sort of story arc about them, but others kind of don't. They're broken up a little bit more. The Rift Plain is kind of one story arc, but they each stand on their own fairly well. Hollowed Heights is a little bit of a hodgepodge for sure. Everything from the fungal cavern kind of ties in with the labyrinth, but then the labyrinth not so much with Mousu Picchu, although you gotta pass through the labyrinth to get there, and the floating islands as well, not as related to the labyrinth, but there's some narrative ties in with Fulmina and the floating islands. Potato says show activity of those friends as well. Yeah, definitely something overhauling like the friends list to kind of make regions. So, trying to think about how to incorporate it there. Maybe now you'd want to see which region has the most friends in it underneath the camp as well. You can see your friends online. Might be good to group those by region as well. ScribDev says the app region, or the word region, is going to have no meaning anymore by the time of this. Fair enough. That comes up a lot in programming for sure. You start to name all your variables a word, and before you know it, you forget how to read that word. I know I was working on like a scheduling app, and so the word time was everywhere, and it was like Timmy to me at that point. I could no longer read the word time. Lynn says in the app UI, you can see how many friends are in each area of the travel map. You love this. The web needs it. Yeah, absolutely. KDM says maybe 5 favorite slots, so these 5 friends can bring you a hunt no matter where. It'd be helpful for those with very few but active friends. Yeah, those are the types of ideas too we're hoping to kind of explore after this. Like, very much, we're kind of seeing this as a first step to kind of broaden that out, play with this system that has left unchanged for years. See kind of feedback, see how players are using it. And then maybe start to explore more elaborate options of giving you more autonomy over what is my hunting group? What does that mean? Who goes on a hunt? Who doesn't? Jason says, nice idea about pre-measured cheese. Yeah, it's been on our radar for a little bit. The floating islands was kind of an experiment in that as well. Just kind of giving some tools to control your trap setup and when it changes and when my cheese disarms. In those situations, but at the same time making it very optional so that we wouldn't want to design whole areas around the fact that you're going to leverage these tools, but kind of they act as a little quality of life to remove friction in areas. Hannah says maybe a toggle like how payments apps have auto debit feature, so if you run out of cheese and auto debit is on, it'll automatically draw your main stash, and then when it's taken off, you stop hunting. Yeah, for sure. As we kind of explore ideas around being able to have a certain number of cheese, I'm sure there'll be kind of some more problems to solve as well. Ryan says, if I need to change setup quickly and have a hunt very close to a trap check, it'd be nice to not be taken by friends. Yeah, for sure. We're trying to think what's the best way to accomplish that in a way where then it doesn't also become an annoying thing that you have to micromanage either. So it's I'm just giving it some thought. Matt says, certain cheese being too strong, have your friends bring you on a hunt for later ideas. Ooh, that's kind of interesting, eh? cheese has a strong identity of attracting mice, not necessarily friends to your trap, if you will. Lynn says we need some sort of protected stash where you can put cheese or ancient relics where they can't be accidentally taken. Yeah, absolutely. There's a few other spots that kind of have that. The max inventory quantity of scrolls is one way to kind of help curb that little bit of friction, but could be a better way to sort your inventory and hide things away. Karen says you're going back and revisiting older areas to hunt and fill in those silhouettes and rarely enjoying the old, or really enjoying the game's old school again. Less friends maybe in the exact spots or regions would be very welcome. Yeah, exactly. It'd just help a little bit with mapping. And like I said earlier, kind of first step of trying to find the best, most fun way of including friends when you go on hunts. And it's definitely something that stands out during events, right? Like how nice it is that, hey, look, all these, I get new names are appearing in my journal. People I either, you forgot were on your friends list or you just haven't been in the same area as them for a very long time. So just, there's something inherently just pleasant about that, just seeing the names of your friends show up. So like I said, this is just such a easy change to make that it feels like a good starting point. Get that out, see sentiment feedback, and see what new ideas that leads to kind of even explore further. Jonathan says, allowing us to arm fewer than the amount of cheese we own would be great. Marketplace is a workaround, but not all cheese can be put in the marketplace. Yeah, for sure. I know when I go through the labyrinth, I like to get rid of all my glowing Gruyere. And then when I craft it, I just craft it in batches that match my hallway length. So there's definitely something there. Just thinking about through the kind of the flow of actually accomplishing it needs some thought. Diamond says, I like how the mobile app shows how many people are on hunting each location. You like that on desktop? Yeah, absolutely. You're just above me here, kind of exploring that on the web. There's two, although it's subtle, even if it's not like of huge strategic importance, there's just something fun about seeing people around you, right? It feels a little less lonely. It's kind of, even if it doesn't impact the decisions you make on where you want to hunt all that much, it's just kind of neat, right? There's something fun about being around other people. Scrib says possibly more tools on the trap setup screen in general, like a slider for hunt group here, another one to arm cheese and charm usage there. Yeah, absolutely. There have been a lot of great ideas over the years. Just kind of empowering that a little bit more. Explored a little bit in the mobile app of saving favorites. Some good feedback there. And then we experimented a bit with the trap library and the floating islands. So I can imagine in some point in the future trying to bring that all together and make kind of a suite, a toolbox, if you will, or a suite of tools to manage your trap setup. Give you a little bit more autonomy over getting things done quickly. Seam says, what about weekly kingdom goals, like reaching 1 mil of a certain mouse and different goals? Yeah, for sure. We've experimented a little bit here and there in events, and it becomes a challenge to pick a goal that is meaningful, impactful, and challenging, but also not impossible. So I don't know. It always sort of has some rough edges around it, especially the nature of MouseHunt being a very passive game that you just play continually throughout the day in very small doses. Because it's not the type of game where you sit down and you like have a whole game session, it's hard to set those sort of weekly goals because it kind of, a goal in MouseHunt usually takes quite a while to reach because you just play it in 15-minute increments. So it's not like you could sit down and be like, I'm going to get my weekly goal done on Wednesday. Cool, it's done. All right, great. On to whatever else I was doing. It'll be something that'll consume your Wednesday, your Thursday, your Friday, and your Saturday. And it almost starts to like, well, I have such little time to actually go and pursue other things. So it gets tough. Those sort of time-limited goals aren't necessarily always a good fit for the game in every context. Nathan says trap library everywhere. Yeah, for sure. That's on our minds as well. And just, needs a little bit more UI work. I'm even starting to feel it a little bit in Floating Islands myself. As I upgrade my trap, I find I forget to upgrade my library or update my library. And I've even caught myself, I caught myself hunting with the Infinite Labyrinth on a Forgotten Islands. Like, wait a minute, I have the Thought Obliterator now. I better update that. So I forgot, I didn't even update it when I got the Thought Manipulator. And then I never even used the Manipulator because I was accidentally using the wrong trap. So it needs a little bit of consideration around that of just, how do you manage that? And especially if you have saved setups for 40 different areas and phases and you upgrade one trap, now all of a sudden you got to sit down and do some homework for a half hour and update all these setups. So we're giving it a little bit of thought though. Deborah says, "Are we going to be able to add more friends, or it stay at the current maximum? No plans to increase the maximum. It seems to be going okay though. We might be able to explore it down the road, but just some performance concerns. But as we kind of keep chipping away at making how you hunt with friends more interesting, a more integral part of the game, that might be more feasible." So he says, "Can the gift send and receive be the same amount?" That's quite intentional because the main limit is on how many you can receive, so like how many things you get per day. But it's just a little awkward when somebody sends you something. You inherently want to return the favor. And that's why the amount of gifts you can send is higher than the amount you can receive, because it used to be equal, and just there was a lot of friction. It's like somebody gave me a gift and I can't even send them a thank you card. And just kind of from a social element, when somebody gives you something, you want to say thank you. You want to recognize that they did something. And so, kind of a workaround of that was making the amount you can send higher than you can receive. Has no sort of balance implications that way, because every day you can still receive the same number of resources. But even if the person, if you send it to them and they're at their maximum, they can't claim it, at least you got to acknowledge that you saw their gift. It's like sending a little, "Oh, thanks for that" note back to them. So I'm trying to think of mechanics that can focus on users to different regions without having to coordinate between users. Yeah, for sure. I think the goal, again, just a starting point, kind of cast a wider net of who you bring on a hunt and who can bring you on a hunt, to kind of see some of those friends a little bit more often, and then see what inspiration that gives to, how can we even further make a more elaborate system that has more autonomy. Yeah, Mara says, "No time limited goals, please." They definitely, if anything, would be in small doses. But there's even a winter hunt event of long ago. It was a kind of toy themed. It was build so many toys to reach a goal. And it was very challenging to think of a goal that was, felt like a community challenge, because you just don't know how hunters are going to tackle it. And then it just ends up kind of being a progress bar filling that you don't really feel like you have a lot of influence over how the bar is filling. So it didn't quite work out too well. Yeah, Lynn app needs better friend interaction, especially sending receiving gifts. Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree. It's borderline unusable. You might be able to get it done in a cinch, but I definitely do avoid the app for sending gifts. That has been long in need of love. It's kind of unfortunately sitting on the backlog of one of the many things that needs some attention. John says, "Can't wait for Fabled Forest." That's a good note. I think we'll get into a little bit more behind the scenes on the next area. We're going to try to, just feedback on the name. It's definitely kind of led to a little bit of miscommunication when just the name was out there. Like, hold on, is this an area for Fabled? But it's just kind of a nice name that we like. But fair enough. The title Fable being the level cap is a very important word in the game. And so, we're maybe starting to see, can we think of a name that we like just as much that avoids that just a little rough edge to it. But we also think it's probably not a huge deal. I think, if we had the legendary lagoon and it didn't happen to be a legendary area, it'd probably be learned pretty quick. But I think we'll do a little bit more behind the scenes. It'll probably be Jacob next week on Feedback Friday if all goes according to plan. But then we can get into a little bit of a look at the new area, explore some of the power types used there at least in the next Feedback Friday after Jacob's. Kano says, "Hey Dave, it's been forever since the last time you watched Feedback Friday, but you're still enjoying MouseHunt. Keep up the good work." Thank you, Kano. Thanks for joining us today. Free Schmidt says, "Really appreciate how thoughtful the devs are in this game. Gotta go, but want to express your gratitude." Thanks, Dave. Well, that's very nice of you to say as well. Free Schmidt, have a fantastic day. Daniel says, "Tourney revamp when and non-tourney Great Winter Hunt again this year." No immediate timeline. It is definitely something we have to do, but there's unfortunately there's a lot to get done, and there's just not a lot of capacity to get it all done. But we're doing our best to try to manage the backlog of a lot of things need some attention. Sally says, you've always wondered what happens to Winter Hunt gifts that aren't claimed, i.e. opened. Well, they do sit there and they will just kind of disappear into the ether eventually, those gifts you can leave under profiles. Dallas in the chat there with the fresh perspective. Why not change the Hunter's title to something else? Fabled Forest is too cool. I think that's what we're struggling with. We really like the name for the name of the region being Fabled Forest. It just has a nice ring to it. So I don't know. We're still brainstorming around that, but the working title right now is Fabled Forest, and we haven't found something else that we like. But it'd be good to get sentiment from hunters. Do you think it's a big deal if there happens to be a region named after one of the hunters' title, but there's no area in that region that requires that rank? I'm not sure if we're overthinking it or not. Warren has a name suggestion: King's Hunting Reserve or the Preserve. Some delicious preserves are being put together. Oh, strawberry jam. Mara thinks community challenges are cool, but when you really need to finish something within a week to get something that feels, well, how to say that you are less than others when you don't play that much? Yeah, that's kind of a good way of putting it there, Mara. Is everyone plays the game in different ways. Some people hunt 80, 100 times a day. Other people hunt 30 or 40 times a day. So it's just hard to design something like that without it feeling like it's meant more for one person than the other, but it's so prominent, it gives the impression it's meant for everybody. The reward track on Lunar New Year kind of has a similar vibe going, where we put the unique unlocks lower on the track because the expectation is it's kind of hard to get to 500 meters. And so if there's kind of more like that, I think it would have similar sort of levels of friction where it feels like the expectation is I have to fill up that bar, I have to meet that goal, but then either it's just way too easy for some people or way too hard for other people. It's just kind of a hard design space and probably best avoided. The tabbled, I have to Google what some of these words mean. There is some vocabulary being thrown around. Taurus? What is a Taurus? Other than the zodiac sign. Tabled Taurus? We would definitely welcome some suggestions for alternative. Like I said, we'll dig into it a little bit more on a future Feedback Friday, but the theme is very much kind of like fables and stories and nursery rhymes, that type of thing. And we'll do a little bit more of a behind-the-scenes look on it maybe in a couple weeks from now, as well as get into some of the power types. I feel like that's important as well if you're looking to know, well, what upgrade should I be focused on before the new area lands? And it's kind of good to have some power types in mind. It's a little bit of a mix of power types as well. There's a few areas going into the region. Angie says, I like Fable Forest as well, and invites the development of mice related to Whisker Woods or something. Yeah. Sally, I don't think it's a big deal for names to be the same. I'm not sure. We're just kind of overthinking it a little bit. Raymond says, any power type leaks for the new area? Look at this. I got ahead of the chat and anticipated. I think we'll reveal that probably 2 weeks from now. We'll get a look at some of the artwork if you've been watching Jacob's live painting streams. No doubt he's been doing some art for the new area, but maybe we can take a look at some of the interfaces, just a few of the items, gameplay, power types, that sort of thing. I better take a sip of warm beverage. The fabulous forest, says Shaw. Fantastic. It's already shaping up to be fabulous. Absolutely. Everybody, the whole team working on it's doing such fantastic work. The mythical forest. We do love alliteration, though, John. It's hard to steer us clear of alliteration. Lynn says, I don't think the name matters. There's no expectation that your rank is in the title, so no reason to assume you need to be fabled to go there yet. But you could call it Fabled Forest with extra side goal for hunters who are actually fabled, but not too good of a side goal, so you don't feel too pressured. Yeah, maybe even just from a narrative perspective, it might be worth exploring. Maybe we can instill the very idea of what it means to be fabled into some of the lore of the area and tie that into sort of the narrative of the entire world and mouse hunters and, the career of mouse hunting in general. So giving it some thought. Jonathan asks, any chance we could finally have a physical trap that beats the Crow Monster bot or the Smoldering Stone? Physical is has gone the longest without an upgrade. Listen, I don't want to get ahead of myself with spoilers too soon, but Jonathan in the chat, that itch may be scratched in the not too distant future. Jonathan Barry in the chat says we brainstormed some name alternatives on Discord a few months ago. Maybe elevate that. I don't think that crossed our plates. So maybe share a link in the Feedback Friday channel if you're active on the Discord. That's good now that it's relevant to a Feedback Friday. Maybe just link to that thread there. That might be good brainstorming fuel for the team. Lynn saying Fabled Force is best. Do not change, please. All right, there's some love for it. There's some love for it on this side as well. So we'll see. My amazing cough button. All right, just like radio here. So asks, is there a timeline for the new area? It's coming along very well. I think we'll get into more detail in a couple weeks from now, but definitely sometime this, I shouldn't say definitely, actually. I'm not one to make promises unless I know I can keep them. So our goal is this year. So you should see it this year if all goes according to plan. If there's some giant roadblock that we slam into that may require a detour, that will take longer, but that's our goal. And things so far are just progressing great. The whole team's been doing a fantastic job on it. And I've been fairly hands off from that release, actually. I haven't got my hands too dirty in the new area of working on there. And the whole team's just been doing a fantastic job. It's nice just seeing it come along on a week-to-week basis. Just floored every time to see how far we're coming. The Fantastic Forest, the new Marvel themed area. Might be a few, might infringe on some intellectual properties there, Skylar. Tyler in the chat says trap check and 15-minute hunt timer is a hangover from the FB days, but still good that trap check is a penalty in some cases. Would be good to decline a check in those cases. Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit of a rough edge, but it's interesting. Even the origin of the Hunter's Horn itself, the original design of the game was you would just automatically catch a mouse every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes. I forget what we started at. And we had a technical limitation at the time. The hosting provider we had 14 years ago, we couldn't afford a very good server. And so we lacked the ability to run automated processes, if you can believe that. And so as a workaround, I was like, what if we have this horn appear on the page and whoever clicks it first, they send everybody on a hunt. And I mean everybody in the entire game went on a hunt, as though you were all friends, Obviously, that wouldn't scale. And, back then, I don't know, we had maybe 50 or 60 people playing the game. It wasn't a big deal. We'd never even fathomed that we would have thousands of people playing the game. So that was the origin of the Hunter's Hammer, or Hunter's Horn, rather. And probably why it's sort of not been systemized or gamified or become this prevalent thing core in the game, and why so often new players join the game, they don't even really get the whole friend hunting experience, because it even started as a workaround, right? So this is kind of nice. It's coming back up to the forefront, as so many things do. They bubble in conversations, as every once in a while somebody has a really good idea, and that helps bring something back up to the surface to help get over some inertia, if you will. And so it's good to see this is bubbling back up to the surface, and we're starting to put a little bit of a thought into it. Slim says it's not an issue. Rank isn't a pass for the area. Most of the time you now need map pieces. Yeah. And he says career of mouse hunting, not something I would have considered 12 years ago when you started playing, but it's definitely become that. We're all loyal hunters for the king. I was working on a honey lemon lozenge, and that combined with coffee it's an interesting flavor. Should have had tea, maybe. Honey lemon tea works. I don't know about honey lemon coffee. John, hoping Fabled Force has a physical and a shadow trap upgrade. Everybody's pretty warm on some of these guesses here. Potato says the all in alliteration stands for the number of names we want them in. All right. Eileen just got here, watching at 2x speed. This is Dave on coffee overload. I think that's Dave 99% of the time, to be honest. Fabled for... That is a pun worthy of Giorgio. He would appreciate just kind of mispronouncing something to give it alternative meaning. Mass suggestion of fabled for Rest. It's a place you go to rest. Scrib, fair enough. The Hunter's Hammer is a completely different box of frogs. Karen, you missed the message after clicking the horn, or that it doesn't make a sound still to this day. Hey, on mobile it'll make a sound. For sure, it would be nice to bring that to the web. Sally needs 4 more platinum crowns to make the epic MouseHunt Century Club. So you're hoping you don't add mice till I can get that. Would take me a couple of weeks. So best of luck. I don't think a new area is landing in a couple of weeks, so I think you're safe. Eric, what are the chances of getting a dark mode theme for MouseHunt? Not very good right now. It's on our radar, but unfortunately it's just not something. I don't think that's going to be a priority anytime soon. Unfortunately, just kind of some of the underlying technology makes it hard to do it to the degree that we'd be happy with it. I think we could make kind of a quick and dirty version of it, if you will, but I worry just too much of the game would sort of become very hard to use or hard to read unless we kind of go through area by area and kind of design with that intent. So it's just something that's hard to prioritize right now, but that's definitely something we'd like to see as well. It makes a sound on mobile, Karen. Let's see. Can I sound my horn? Yes, I can. Let's see if my sounds are even turned on. Hey, look at that. Here goes nothing. Caught a mouse. Hey, Richard the Rich. Take that. A high altitude trove 2 richest eggs. Those richest eggs are juicy, all right? Somebody may want to pull that back next egg hunt, but we'll see. Those are some pretty juicy eggs. Angie, you, Dave, what development do you specifically work on? I kind of dabble a little bit in everything. So, Sean, I think most of the trap check issues would be fixed if we had something like floating islands, but instead of each island, we can have each stage. Example, a total eclipse stage, etc. Yeah, for sure. It kind of, was a little bit of an experiment to see how welcome that would be and how hunters would use it, as well as give it some time to kind of see how it holds up as you start to earn upgrades and have to go back and update your library to kind of give us a better perspective of how we want to approach a more broad version of the trap library that may appeal or be applicable in more areas. Nathan says, perhaps an acronym. Yeah, we have moved on from our love of acronyms and now to be a love of alliteration, but maybe the FABLED for us. Potato with the suggestion of the wondrous woods. Doesn't quite tie into the story. They are like fables as the theme of all the areas in the region. So it might be a tough egg to chew, as we like to say, and come up with just the right solution, but we'll see. Nigel just wondering, did you guys ever take design inspiration from the Avatar cartoon? Not that I'm aware of, but maybe one of the artists have drawn inspiration from that at one point and won't speak on their behalf. Sally fabled for us. Oh my goodness. The great puns are coming out. Daniel says music where there's music in the app as well. Music's a funny thing in games, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I find it feels like something's missing if music and sound isn't there when you start, but there becomes this point in the game. I call it after the romance period in a game. That's probably not a good metaphor for it. Where then the first thing you want to do is mute the music. But there is music in the mobile app. I have my phone on silent. Nice mix of the medieval horn, but I feel like the background tempo almost feels like the introduction to a news show, Like it should be playing in the background. Hello, I'm Larry the Anchor, and these are the top stories in Narnia tonight. And tonight would have to be spelled with a K. Scrib, you're surprised the eggs are still sticking around. Half expected them to be gone by now. It is a big, I wouldn't say issue, but one of the biggest design challenges of the egg hunt. It is now the oldest event in the game. Is there's all these, the eggs are all these collectibles, and it would feel very weird or bad to get rid of them all, right? And so they should probably live on in perpetuity of some way to get these eggs, but it means we cannot reimagine the event at all, right? Like just that format, there's no other way that we could possibly incorporate all of these eggs unless they just work how they currently do. So it's tough. Unlike things like the birthday event and the Great Winter Hunt, sort of, we might repeat the same format with a new twist, and every once in a while we reimagine it and make it something new and fresh. That's very hard to do with the egg hunt, just because these eggs are just sort of there. Other events, we have challenges sometimes of trying to incorporate all the old mice. They have a similar sort of design challenge to them where during the Great Winter Hunt, all the Winter Hunt mice should be available to be captured. Otherwise we have to kind of repurpose them or have like a limited edition mouse. That would be very weird. And so it's a design challenge. When you sit down, you have to kind of figure out a way to kind of make all those fit without it coming out like, square peg round hole type effect. The fabled forearms with spinach infused cheese. We're going deep now in these jokes, Nathan. Potato, a fantastical, auspicious, belligerently loud, and extremely dangerous forest rolls right off the tongue. Did you make fabled? Fabled. Look at that. Angie, acronyms. I have trouble keeping up with abbreviations myself as well. Any like acronyms, abbreviations, sometimes it's like I'm reading a different language from time to time. I have a hard time making those stick. Two night news. Yeah, if he had a co-anchor, Larry, Larry, and another night, it could be the two night news at 8 a.m. every day. Wait, it's two night, but it's in the morning. What? Sounds like a boat TV theme. All right. The crime-solving boat. Wesley, how about some devs' names in alliteration as area names or traps? Dave's Divine Dungeon, Giorgio's Glowy Goblet of Goofiness. Well, that's a team effort. I don't think we'd like to put anyone, particular name on something in that way, because it takes the talent of many to put together all the great stuff. Jonathan, Spring Egg Hunt has historically been a 3-4 week event. The more eggs there are, the more people need to have a chance to backfill in previous eggs as this year's. You're happy with it? Yeah, that's why it is such a lengthy event, and for most people, although it's going to take years to kind of collect them all unless you get set up just right. It'd be a very stressful endeavor. Or his Twisted Carmine saying we need more sub-boss eggs. Hey, anything with the living yarn, I'm going to advocate for it. Just this morning I was looking at I'm up to 1,600 living chests I'm waiting to open up. We were talking about, do you like to hoard things to open at once, or do you open as you go? Giorgio and Norman said they like to open as they go. They can't resist. We're talking about the high altitude troves. I'm sitting on 44. I think I'm the opposite. I don't open as I go. I like to wait until I have a ton of it and open them all at once. Vic asks, will there be one new area expansion every year? Yeah, it's a bit of a daunting question, to be honest, Vic. Definitely that's what we would like to do, if not more. But it's just what we have the capacity for. It's tough being a small team. The most stressful decision is, what do we prioritize? It's just, there's a lot to get done, and there's only so much time and only so many hands to work on things. So it's a difficult decision. Tournaments and teams need a lot of love, and they've been kind of sitting on the sidelines for a little bit, often just trying to wait for the right opportunity where the right people are free to work on the right thing. That's an area, definitely one area a year is, I think, just kind of important for the overall health of the game, making sure as players kind of reach the end of their goals, we're adding some new goals, at least one thing a year, but there's also important things like quality of life, making interfaces better, bug fixing, maintenance, there's always ongoing kind of needs going on. But it's great. What's great about Feedback Friday, the Discord, Facebook groups, and just communication in general helps these things, as I said earlier, bubble back up to the surface. And kind of the act of prioritization is a fluid process. It's hard to sit down and say, for the next 3 years, this is exactly what we're going to do, because the needs and the wants change. So it's very easy to know what you're going to do for the next 1 or 2 weeks, but it gets a little bit more fuzzy. It's a more broad strokes. It's just a sketch what you're going to do in 2-3 years from now. You might have a general idea, but nothing too specific, because you want to maintain flexibility and deal with changing things as they come up. Much to my surprise, we are almost at 45 minutes. It goes to show when I say it's going to be a short feedback Friday, that's probably not the case. I'm notorious for that as well. Like, hey, do you have 15 minutes to talk about something? And 45 minutes later, we're going on. But I should probably begin to wrap things up. I said at the start, I'm battling a little bit. I'm just on the mend from a bit of a cold, so maybe I won't overexert my talking muscles here. But as we often do, we'll end on a trivia question from Larry here. And in the spirit of regions, which region has the most locations in it? Not too challenging of a question, but kind of interesting to see after so many years have passed. This one has held on to the title for a very long time. Nigel in the chat was first with the correct answer. Yes, the Tribal Isles. It is, in fact, the Tribal Isles has the most locations of any region. Rodentia gets an honorable mention, though. Because what do you have there? You have Cape Claude, Elub, Nurg, Dur, Jungle of Dread, Dracano, and Malak's Cove. How many is that? 5, 6, 7. There you go. Counting with fingers. Rift Plain is getting up there, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the Rift Plain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a tie. Rodentia has 7 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a tie. It's a tie. Let's change that immediately. They both have 7. Look at that. Bonus points whenever Dave has the wrong answer, which happens a surprisingly large number of times, or frequently enough. Tribal Isles and Rodentia are tied at 7. That goes to show. All right. Coffee and cold medication clearly diminishes my ability to count, but they are both tied at 7. Can you put the link in here? Absolutely. I'll put the link in the chat for your clicking enjoyment. Such link. Very clicky. Why? Oops, I'm pasting it into the area where you search for emojis. That's not going to work. The link is now in the chat for your clicking convenience. Ooh, Jonathan with honorable mention there. The desert would technically have more if you did want to count the Living and the Twisted Garden, the Sand Dunes and the Sand Crypts, the Lost City and the Cursed City as separate locations. All right. And that could be the answer with an asterisk next to it. Scrib asks, is the Fabled Forest going to be a new region or will it be in Hollow Heights? It will be a new region is the plan right now, unless we change our plan. It's going to be a region. To start right now, there will be 3 areas in it to start. And, we'll see based on kind of feedback and inspiration. We'd like to then add upon it, kind of similar to Queso Canyon grew over time, right? We kind of added a 4th area to that. Kind of can start up a new theme and new narrative. Wow, 10 extra charms, more of such links. Hey, all right. I'm low on extra charms, so not going to lie. There's a little bit of bias when I was asking Larry for that link. How about some extra charms, Larry? I ran out. I was buying them with my Chocolatonium. John, Matt says, I hope you have a great day. Till the next one. Hey, have a fantastic day as well, Matt. Thanks for stopping by. Running magical fertilizer. Hey, that would have been pretty juicy as well. But Larry doled out extras. I was in the mood for some extras myself. So I think I influenced Larry a little bit there. Lynn replied to Scribd that Fabled Forest is a new region. It'll have 3 areas on launch. Cool. That cat is already out of the bag. All right, good to know. Yeah, and the Fabled Forest will be the name of the region, not the area. So each area, we'll dig into it. Like I said, I think it'll be time to do a little behind-the-scenes sneak peek. But there's a little bit of a teaser right now. The working titles for those. Now we'll share that. We'll share that in a couple weeks. We won't let that cat out of the bag. We'll just let it meow inside. who is this awful person keeping all cats inside of bags? All right, this person needs to clearly be found by the authorities. I don't think that's acceptable. Chong says, actually, it can be the floating islands if we count each island as a separate location. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Daniel, thanks for the riff, yeah. John, Reward Link gave me a magma base. Now we're going extra far on what this accidental link joke could be. Super says, we definitely had a free fertilizer link 1 year through the Facebook page. Yeah, and actually this year there's more fertilizer in Lady Laura's shop as well, I believe. Is it every shelf has a fertilizer now? I think I've claimed them all. I can't check that. I'm fairly confident, though, we did add more fertilizer from shelf unlocks. Diamond says, hope you're feeling better. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Yeah, I should probably wrap things up. I can feel my voice diminishing, so it's time for another delicious lozenge. I think I'll have the coffee, then the lozenge. It wasn't quite like brushing your teeth and then having some orange juice, but there was a similar funky flavor going on between a honey lemon lozenge and coffee. So I think I'll finish the coffee and then I'll go for the lozenge. Xavier, you missed most of the stream. At least you got to catch the NA. Thanks for stopping in, Xavier. It'll be up on YouTube shortly after we wrap up if you do want to rewatch. Dave, can you give me a deep oxygen stream? This bubbly egg is killing me. It's a challenge. Stock up on those jet charms. I'm trying to use the last of my storm cells here because those richest eggs, I just can't resist them. And then I want to see if I can make some headway on Eggmaster. I'm oh so close. Mike says, thank you, Dave, for another great Feedback Friday. Have a great weekend. Happy hunting. Hope you feel better real soon. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for joining us. Glad you enjoyed yourself today. I have as well. Caleb, I just got it this year after trying for 2 years. Must have been 50 jet charms. Look at our holy smokes. Well, at least those jet charms, they can add up. It's a good thing to hoard for. It's kind of nice. Once a year, there is this goal if you want to go for. You can just start using your stockpiles of some stuff in a way that feels very rewarding. The Frizzly Forest, says Matt. Yeah, I think we'll have a little brainstorming document to see if we come across a name that we like more. That happens to avoid the word fabled, but it'd be good to get sentiments as well. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal anyway, but in an ideal world, we'd find a name that didn't use the name of a title. Yep, shelves 1 and 5. All right, Jonathan's got my back. Added it to another shelf this year. Yeah, well, we love you, Dave. Thank you very much. Oregano oil when you feel getting sick in your throat. Haven't been sick in over a decade. Nice little home remedy. Some oregano oil, eh? Caleb's approaching 100 kilometers. You spent about 30 mil on jet charms. Holy smokes. Jonathan, I have to say MouseHunt is one of the best online games because I can play it even with a broken wrist. Well, Jonathan, I hope you recover quickly. Sorry to hear about your wrist. Well, that is great, right? It's something you could fit in between your day, and that's always a guiding principle in kind of the designs of areas. Maintain truth to its original identity of, being a second screen type thing, right? Hopefully it doesn't take over the attention. Just something fun to check on throughout the day, and hopefully share a fun experience, make some friends along the way. And Ken, congrats on your Eggmaster title as well. First time in 11 years. Congratulations. All right, I'm going to wrap things up, hunters. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everyone's enjoying the last stages here of the great egg hunt, or the spring egg hunt. Yeah, my brain is turning off. It's definitely time. Definitely time for me to stop talking. But have a fantastic weekend, everybody. It will most likely be Jacob next week for a Art Edition Feedback Friday. And then I think after that, I'll join everybody again unless something comes up. And we'll do a little sneak peek of the upcoming Fabled Forest area. Reveal some power types, maybe some themes, some narratives, some very loose mechanics. Get some initial impressions. It's about that time. Things are coming together. It's always great to get feedback, sentiment, impressions while we're in development. Because then we can use those feedback and impressions as food for thought. And as we kind of polish and fine-tune everything, it kind of helps guide some of those final decisions. So I think the timing's right. As well as as the release gets closer on the horizon, it's kind of nice to know what power types to have in mind as well. So I feel like by a couple weeks from now, it'll be good to share those power types. People have some goals in mind before the Fabled Forest makes its appearance. I'm losing my voice. It's game over for me. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Once again, thank you for joining me, and happy hunting.
1, 2.
You're a trap. Don't seem to mind it. You attract me. I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry. Oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out I'm